wanted to do a sit down video with you guys. I feel like it's a cloudy day, so apologies for the lighting that will probably transition through this video. But other than that, welcome back to another video, guys. Welcome to the channel if you are new. My channel over the years has been a bit of a mixed bag: vlogging, travel, house update. But in the most recent couple of months, it's been about Australia, because I have taken the plunge to come to Australia and give it a go, and to see if this place is really somewhere I can see myself living here long term. So I've been living in Sydney, Australia now for a couple of months. I feel like I've really had time to kind of sit in it and sit in those feelings that have definitely hit me at some point. It's not been easy. I want to first and foremost put that out there. It's not easy moving away from family and friends and being so far away. Nonetheless, there are a lot of perks to it as well, from my opinion. So I wanted to sit down and do a pros and cons list of living in Australia in comparison to the UK. So I wanted to talk about health and medical, which is definitely something I need to have access for, because I have Crohn's disease and I require constant medication for it and constant blood tests. So very lucky in the UK, for those living there, that the NHS provides a lot of incredible services. You get access to a lot of stuff that maybe you take for granted, and you don't really realise until you actually come out of there that, you know, a blood test, for example, that I've already had to have here cost me $80. And you get like a Medicare card that you would just show at the doctor's surgery. You would basically book in to register yourself, or register yourself with the GP. You book in the service that you need, for example, a blood test. You have the blood test done, and then you ring back up like a week or two later to book an appointment with the GP to get the results. So it's a bit different. Whereas in the UK, you'd have the blood test done, you'd be contacted with the results. Whereas here in Australia, that's when you're paying for the service. However, I've just been contacted to tell me that I'm owed some money for the blood test that I paid for. And I think that's because of the England and the Australian agreement that they have. Sorry, I can't think of the word of it. But there is an agreement in place where they will reimburse you a certain amount of money. So yeah, I'm yet to figure out how that all links up. There's apps for Medicare, there's Medicare Plus that you can sign up for. And that's been my experience so far, having to actually get something. I know most people will probably come on here and just talk about Medicare in terms of like the difference they notice in the surgery and the kind of service that's being offered, or how accessible things are. Yes, you can definitely get in quite quick. However, I needed something specific, and to be honest, it didn't feel like a streamlined process. I was very confused, but that might have just been the surgery I went to. They didn't really explain anything to me. They just gave me a form to fill out. I went and sat in with the doctor. She kind of not shouted at me, but aggressively said, "What am I here for?" And she doesn't know anything about me. And I'm like, well, I know, that's why I'm signing up, because I need to get a blood test done for this medication that I'm currently on for this condition. And then I was sent to the pathology lab to have bloods, and I left, and then I was like, okay, so do I contact them for my results, or when do I pay? Like, can I just walk out now? Like, it just wasn't fully explained to me. So yeah, the Medicare the health system for me is still a bit of a journey, and maybe that's just because I've got some more things that I need to obviously kind of watch out for and sort. I would say the difference I've noticed in being able to get in and seen, I'd say here is much quicker in comparison to the UK, just because the NHS seems to be extremely overwhelmed. Moving now on to rent. Now, obviously my situation is kind of different because I am very lucky. I'm living with family right now. It's probably similar if you live in places like London, where people might share an apartment or a flat, because it's crazy expensive to do so on your own. Here, it's very common to share a 3-bed flat with 2 other people. And here it's heavily promoted on Facebook group. A lot of my friends live on like Bondi, Coogee, Bellevue Hill, which are all beautiful, stunning areas in Sydney, but they pay about probably $400 to $600 a week for a room in a place. More towards the $600, maybe $700 and $800 is probably where you can start looking for a 1-bedroom apartment if you didn't want to share. But the range seems to be like the normal kind of rate is between about $400, $600. If you're going to go further out, like Ashfield, Stratfield out the back, or you're going to go all the way down to like Maroubra, you might be lucky and find somewhere for like $375, $350, because it's like much further out of the way. My friend lived in Manly. She was paying, I think, $425. She then moved to Bondi Road, right in the heart of it all. She was paying $425 or $450. She's now moved to Bellevue Hill, where she's got an ensuite, and she's paying $550 a week, I think. So that's kind of like a ballpark figure of what you're going to pay. It is crazy expensive, but obviously you have a lot on your doorstep. because of the prices of the properties around here. It's just astronomical. So the only way you can live in the eastern suburbs, unless you're absolutely minted, is to unfortunately share. And if you're someone that wants your own space, you definitely need to be looking to be paying, I'd probably say at least $700 a week for a 1-bedroom apartment, and that might not even be near the eastern suburbs. It might be like North Sydney or like further back out into the west, because I've also had friends that have moved in with people that it hasn't been plain sailing and it hasn't been a smooth transition, and as much as they've met and they've got on and they thought they were gonna like vibe with each other and be like good friends, it's actually turned out to be a bit of a horrendous experience, to be honest. So it does make me feel like if I was to come out here, I'm going to be taken like 10 steps back, because it feels like that university environment again, like where you're staying with people. Yeah, you've just got to be particular about that and be mindful. But ballpark figure, $400 to $600 a week is probably what you're going to be looking to pay. So moving on to career, I think a lot of people here, especially if you're on a working holiday visa, it doesn't really matter what you've previously done at university or what your work experience is. Because you're on a working holiday visa here, I have found that companies haven't taken you to be that serious, because they just feel like everybody's here for a year, traveling a bit, trying to find themselves, and are gonna bugger off. Obviously that's not always the case, but also people that are coming here to try and figure that out also don't know if they're gonna be here the year after, right? Because they're trying to figure it out themselves as well. So it just depends on the visa thing, I think, that will restrict people. Obviously I did a certain role previously for about 9 years, and I can't get back into that until I've got PR here, which is permanent residency visa. I'm currently on a working holiday visa, which will expire in December, but they don't take on working holiday visa people regardless of your experience, because they want people there full time. A lot of people contact recruiters over here, will have an interview over Zoom, kind of get a feel for you, how you are, your delivery, how you present yourself, and then kind of put you into temporary roles, like a 2-month or a 3-month kind of contract, which seems to be the norm here. Like that seems to be what everybody does. So moving on to public transport. Public transport in the UK is diabolical, in my opinion. That is just purely from where the area I live. I live down on the south coast in the UK. I live in between a place called Chichester and Portsmouth. I'm right down south on the coast, beautiful part of the world, but there's a train line and there's a few bus routes. Obviously I had my car back in the UK, so I never really was in a situation where I was heavily reliant on the public transport, so I can't really say like every single day they let me down, because I didn't know. But a lot of the times on weekends when I did use them, the train would be late. I know National Rail have had a huge thing with loads of strikes over the last few years that's been going on, and I'm pretty sure it's still ongoing. So I know that that's a problem, and I know it's absolutely astronomical in price what they charge for a train. But certainly in the eastern suburbs, the public transport here is so cheap. You tap on and off with a phone, or you can buy a card, like an Oyster card similar. The trains here are so reliable. I finish work at 5 o'clock and there's a train at like 5:06, and every single day it's bang on time. I literally do a very, very fast paced walk down to Central. I'm back in Bondi by like 5:20, like every evening, 5:25. So the trains are always reliable. In my experience, they have been. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is the cost of it. The public transport is so cheap. They deduct like $1 when you tap on, and then obviously charge you the full amount when you've tapped off. But yeah, you can certainly travel around and get into the city. I'd probably say for like 5 or 6 quid, and that's getting on a bus and then a train. Way more reliable. I'd actually say more friendlier as well. Like the people that I've come across, always happy to help. Haven't come across someone that's like grunting on the bus. They always say thank you when you get on and off. I even find people on public transport are saying thank you to the driver, even if they're at the back of the bus and they're tapping off at the back doors. They're like, thank you, have a nice day. Like, it just seems much friendlier. Public transport so far has been great. It's been reliable and it's cheap. And I'm pretty sure my friend Bianca said up the Gold Coast you can travel up there for like $1 a day, which is mental. That's about 50p equivalent. Okay, so the things that I've noticed about scenery and nature here and the pros and cons, again, for just the area I'm living in. I'm in the city, but I have a ton of beaches on my doorstep. So beautiful weather, beautiful blue skies, gorgeous beaches and crystal clear blue water in most places. That's the one biggest thing I've noticed. However, there's not a ton of greenery around here, specifically where I'm living. The biggest thing I've noticed is like the birds here. The sound of the birds are mental. And I never thought I'd kind of like miss the sound of like an English bird. But like yesterday, I think spring is now happening in the UK, and they're starting to get like lighter evenings and like, you know, a bit more sunshine and a little bit less rain. I saw somebody upload like an Instagram story yesterday, and it was just like the tweeting of the birds in the UK. It's so different to the sounds that you get here. Some of them are stunning, like so colourful and beautiful, and make very, very loud noises. Obviously the crickets here at night time. I've been on the phone to a friend once back home, and she's like, Elise, what's that noise? I was like, yes, the crickets. Like they're so loud at night time. The bird sounds are very, very different, and probably that's probably one thing that makes me feel a little bit homesick sometimes. But yeah, other than that, the greenery just lacks where I am. Yes, you've got Centennial Park and you've got Botanical Gardens and you've got some beautiful spots still in the city. So another pro and con I want to talk about is the work-life balance, and this absolutely sits on the pro side. The work-life balance here is incredible. Everybody is up early here doing exercise. You're drinking great coffee. The cafes are open at like 5, 6 a.m. here. You don't have to wait till like 8, 9 o'clock, which you would have to do back home. But here, everybody is up doing their 5 to 9 before they do their 9 to 5 is kind of the motto. People are out surfing, they're running, people are doing group Pilates classes. There's like a run club in Bondi where there's like 250 people running on Friday morning at 5 a.m. that anybody can just go along to. There's way more around fitness and lifestyle and mental health here that is astronomically different in comparison to the UK. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy going to the gym and I enjoy working out and stuff, but I'm not like, oh my God, if I don't do it today, like I've really failed. Like, whereas here I'm generally motivated so much more to get up and go to the gym and join these clubs, probably more so because I don't have like a huge group of friends here. Yeah, work-life balance is so much nicer. Everybody finishes work and goes down the beach, takes a rug, everybody brings some sort of food for everybody to eat and enjoys the sunset and then heads home. Like, it's way more outdoorsy here than it is in the UK for sure. Okay, the last pro and con I'm gonna say is probably the most obvious one, and anybody that's moved to Australia would know exactly what I'm talking about. And anyone that's considered moving to Australia and hasn't done, it will probably be for this one reason. It's obviously the distance. The distance from here to the UK is far. It's very, very easy to stay in touch with family and friends now with the wonderful thing called the internet. As much as that's sometimes not enough and all you want to do is have a hug with the people you love, and you do sometimes feel like you're missing out on moments. And I've already felt that in the 4 months that I've been here. For me, it's trying to weigh up, you know, what's more important and where do I see myself, because as much as I miss that in the UK, it's me trying to weigh up the pros and cons of like, okay, well, but what does my quality of life look like? And my quality of life right now, although it looks unstable because my job's only a temporary contract, it's something I feel like I've just got to push through and do and figure out, because I've always wanted to come here and give it a go and have the warmer climate and have all these beautiful places to explore and have this stuff on my doorstep. However, when things do go off at home or something happens, you want to just be home instantly, and it's very different from being in like Italy or Spain where it's like a 2 or 3 hour flight. It's a long old flight, but like my dad says all the time, it is just a day away. You can get home if you need to get home, and it's not like you're stuck here. But yeah, the distance is the hardest thing for sure, and it's probably the one reason why a lot of people are reluctant to move to Australia, right? I get it, it makes perfect sense. Family is crucial, especially as your parents are getting older. If you've got nephews or nieces, you want to be around them to see them grow up. I don't think I saw people enough for me to warrant going back to the UK, to be honest. At the moment, I'm very much on the Australia side, and the biggest con is obviously the distance and how far away you are. So that's my pros and cons of living in Australia to the UK. Obviously, probably by the sounds of what I've spoke about, you can probably get the gist that Australia is kind of winning for me. I understand that it comes with a lot of cons in terms of family and friends, and ultimately really, in the grand scheme of things, as cliche as it sounds, that really is all that matters in life, is that you've got your health and your family and friends. However, I've got exceptional family and friends, and every single one of them is supportive of me being here. I think I've always had that difficulty because my dad's always been in Australia and my mum is back in the UK, so wherever I am, I'm gonna have some sort of family difficulty tie from them being really far away. I think I'm just trying to focus on where is it I want to be, whatever my story's gonna be, where do I see that? And at the moment, 4 months in, it's Australia. So yeah, that's the pros and cons for me currently living in Australia in comparison to the UK. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's something you want me to specifically talk about. I'm going to be heading to the Gold Coast this week actually. It's Monday currently and I'm heading there Thursday, so stay tuned because there's going to be a few little Gold Coast vlogs going on a little solo trip, which I am super excited about. But thank you guys so much for watching if you're still listening at this point, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Bye.